LifeWave has the opportunity to create a new way of direct selling that maybe has not been thought of before. And this is with the emphasis on innovation, creating new technology, being a world leader in a specific area, and how that is going to perpetuate the industry and the opportunities moving forward.
Welcome to Built to Last, a podcast from Direct Selling News, putting the spotlight on the best of the best companies in the channel. I'm Rob Sperry, and today we're featuring LifeWave, a company that's redefining wellness through innovative health technology backed by science. Joining me are two remarkable leaders, LifeWave founder and CEO David Schmidt and President Meredith Burkich. David is the inventor behind LifeWave's patented phototherapy technology and the visionary who launched the company in 2004. With more than 200 patents and a deep background in science and engineering, he leads LifeWave's product innovation and long-term strategy. Meredith brings more than 2 decades of executive leadership in direct selling, guiding fast-growth organizations with a people-first philosophy. As president of LifeWave, she's focused on scaling the company's infrastructure and enhancing both the brand partner and customer experience around the world. In today's conversation, we'll explore what makes LifeWave's opportunity model, leadership, culture, and field support systems stand out, and how they've achieved such extraordinary growth. Let's dive in. All right, so to kick this podcast off, I would love to hear from the visionary, the inventor, the founder on a little bit of the background. I mean, the company got started in 2004, but how did this come about? Like, what was your vision that really built this and kept this going and obviously scaled it? We'll get into the scaling a little bit later.
I think it's probably important to say that I never had the thought that I was going to get into network marketing. Didn't really know a lot about the industry. I had some exposure to it in college. During the late 90s, though, I owned a company and I was developing different technologies for the U.S. Navy through government contractors. And during that process, I was invited to be part of a design team for one of the Navy's next generation mini subs. So I took a look at the program and I thought, okay, maybe I can come up with a way to help improve crew survivability, so I'll get to work on this. And what I learned about the mission profiles is that people were going to be having to stay awake for 30 hours, 60 hours at a time. And in those days, people were using, like today, they were using caffeine, any type of amphetamine to stay awake. So I've always been interested in health, and I thought this would be a good opportunity to take a approach to this that maybe didn't rely on a drug. Maybe we could find a non-drug way to do this. So I spent several years. I came up with LifeWave as a technology. And then 9/11 hit. And military was interested in weapons and not survival equipment. So I had a family to support. So I thought, okay, well, there's probably people out in the public that are interested in a technology to help burn fat and gain energy. So I'll go ahead and start a company, and that's when LifeWave was born in 2002. So it was 2 years to figure out how to set up the manufacturing, doing clinical studies to support the work, and then what's the market research? How are we going to actually end up selling this? Is this through TV, radio, print? And along the way, it became obvious to me that network marketing was by far the best way to go to market, which we did in November of 2004, and it's changed my life in absolutely remarkable ways.
Was it a lot harder than you thought, direct sales, once you got in those first couple of years, or was it what you thought, or was it easier than you thought?
Way more difficult. I would say it was way more difficult because I didn't know anything about the industry. I made a ton of mistakes. I look back at it in retrospect, and I think it's only through the grace of God that we survived. The work hours were very long. They still are, and which has never bothered me because I love what I do. But yeah, I would say in one sense, the work was very, very difficult. But on the other hand, the business grew very rapidly, much more rapidly than I think through other means. And the rewards about meeting the people that you're helping, meeting the people that are building the business, just does not happen in any other industry. So I fell in love with the industry right away.
That's such an important aspect. I mean, hearing that, I fell in love with the industry right away because it's a success principle. Everything worthwhile is always harder than we think it's going to be. It's not like, you could even go to the greats of all time, Tom Brady or Michael Jordan, and they're not like, oh, that was way easier than I thought, right? So hearing that passion is so key and critical to be able to get through those moments. Well, Meredith, you've described LifeWave's mission as maximizing human potential. Being around the channel for 2 decades and then seeing what LifeWave has done and become one of those built to last companies that has integrated this principle, like what do you see that you guys are really doing to integrate that? Because I know sometimes it can sound like a cliche, right? But cliches are cliches for a reason because they're timeless principles that actually work.
I think that maximizing human potential is something really at its core that we all want to do. I think we talk about it a lot. And yet I heard a message many years ago that said that the graveyard was full of the most human potential. And it really struck me at the time because it is a multifaceted opportunity in direct selling, not only from the financial impact that you can have to create a better life for your family, but to be the best version of yourself. And I think that's physical. Of course, it's spiritual, and it's certainly mental, and are we always striving to be better and be that version for our families, for our communities, and for our teams, if we're so fortunate. And I think that at LifeWave, to start out with a founder, with a person like David Schmidt, who has, as a core driver from the very, very beginning, said, I want the world to be a better place, and I want people to have the opportunity to be empowered to be that best version of themselves. It all starts there, right? That's the core. And so how does that reflect and translate into what we do at LifeWave? We're constantly asking ourselves, will this empower people? Will this give them the tools that they need? Will this give them the products that they need? Will we be providing a tangible way to better themselves?
Yeah, it's interesting how you say that, and you start out with David, because I look at it as it's like a ship, the vehicle, indirect sales, the company. And inevitably, there are going to be storms that come. It just happens. The greatest stocks, the greatest companies have them. It's perspective, it's reality. But who's the captain of the ship, right, is so important, more important than anything else. Trust me, I know you can't build a viable business without the products and the comp plan and the culture, but inevitably that starts with the captain of the ship. And then after that, of course, the captain's got to have, who are the other leaders, right? Like yourself. And then you're working with the other corporate leaders and the field leaders, because that's where it stems from, because it's not your typical transactional business. People, they're striving to be better human beings in this business. And so they're looking at, like, who are the people at the top? And we won't go through the companies, but you and I have both seen, I know we have experienced, David as well, right? We've seen companies where they had a lot of success, but because that wasn't there, the captain, in the end, it didn't matter how much they did in sales. And so that leads me to the next question, especially at the beginning. I mean, you guys went through your hard times. You briefly mentioned that. I'm guessing underfunded at times where I don't know, I'm guessing where
it actually wasn't that.
Okay.
No, actually, our challenges occurred in 2006 and 2016. So for perspective, November of 2004, our first month doing sales, we did $500,000 in sales. 2005, we did about $17 million in sales. Wow. So we were off to a great start as a new company. 2006, we started to experience a number of challenges, but it was in October of 2006 that we were the victim of a credit card scam. So we had somebody in Europe that was buying credit cards through Russia. They were placing fake orders. We had about $1 million or so worth of fake orders go through. We had paid commissions on it. And that was an unbelievable disruption in the business. And 2007, we went month by month. We lost about half of our distributors because of that. So we went month by month in 2007, not really knowing if we were going to make it.
Did the leaders sense that as well? That you weren't maybe going to make it, or was that just more behind the scenes, kept private?
The leaders certainly knew that the company was having its challenges.
Yeah.
They didn't know, I think, how bad it was. In just a week before Christmas, I emptied my bank account to make payroll. And so I went from some money in my bank account to not having anything, and then living off of credit cards during 2007. And then we were able to, thank God, recover and get back on our feet. And then 2008, year over year, our sales were doubling. Then in 2016, we had integrated, we went from one platform to another for software. The team that was handling it did a terrible job. And we went for 3 weeks where we couldn't take an order, several months where the system just didn't work properly. And again, we went back almost 10 years to the month. We went through another really terrible period. But I would say that if we hadn't gone through both of those problems, we wouldn't be where we are today. It absolutely made us a better company, as ironic as it is.
Yeah, the ones that get through it, it's always right. The trials were the best things that happened if you can make it through. Now, obviously, we don't feel that way during those times, but I appreciate you sharing that. And that's one of the goals of Built to Last, is us sharing not just the highlights of all the great things we went through, but also the struggles and the challenges. Because I've heard that from multiple companies, but I don't see that publicly, where they had massive issues with merchant accounts and different things like that they had to go through, and you just don't know. Like, a lot of times that isn't shared, and so it's empowering, and I'm grateful to hear that as well. Like, the struggle is so important, because yes, your struggle is your story, your mess is your message, but when you overcome it, right, that's what makes it so powerful. So what would you say, Meredith, if you think of LifeWave, like the biggest thing that you guys have for a company that is built to last? Like, if you were to say the single most important thing, and I know that could be one of those answers that's so deep that depending on the day, it may be a different principle with that. But what would you say it is for LifeWave in particular?
I think ongoing innovation is the key to that success that you're talking about, that sustainable future, that legacy build. And because David represents that innovation, because it really is an inventor at the helm here that is steering the direction of the company, it is much more important for us to have him in the front of the room, because the story that he tells and how he unveils the latest project, how he describes how it's going to change the world and make a difference in lives, really can only be delivered by the inventor himself. And that's why we can't get enough of David Schmidt on stage. And neither can our brand partners. They just want more David, and we're happy to make sure that we deliver that. So
what would you say for you, like having a key to have a company that is going to be sustainable and be around?
First, I would say an extraordinarily important part of why we've been successful is because of our leaders. And what's interesting is that over the years, like all of us, we've met many, many different types of people that get involved with the industry. And a common thread that Meredith and I see when we're on leader trips is that the leaders don't talk about how much money they're making or getting to another level in their finances. There's none of that. They're talking about, oh my God, let me share with you a testimonial from someone in my downline, and we're getting these testimonials every day. It's amazing how we're changing people's lives. So the leaders, they're amazing people. They're focused on helping people. They see the vision of the company and where the company is going. They see our commitment to the business. So I'd say first and foremost, the leaders that we have are incredible. We're blessed to have them. Manufacturing has been a great strength of the company. We manufacture our products, and we haven't had a stock out. So we can today support a company doing over $2 billion US dollars in sales yearly. I started out of my home with a purely manual process. Then we subbed out to going to what I'd say is a semi-automated process. Then we had a piece of equipment retrofitted to make it automated, and today it's incredibly advanced. We use robotics, we use computerized vision detection systems, and it's very, very high speed. So the manufacturing has been an important part in being able to keep up with our growth and going through spikes in sales. The innovation, as Meredith said, is incredibly important, and it's something that I would recommend to any company in the channel, is that as we look at the trends of where things are going with AI and Amazon and online sales and where they've been, is that unless companies have a strategic edge, they may not survive, no matter how good the compensation plan is or their marketing. So I would definitely encourage owners to be thinking about investing in innovation, and our model of looking out what's going to be around 10, 20 years from now. How do we develop these technologies? How can we patent them, manufacture them? Those are all incredibly important decisions and actions. So at the end of the day, our brand partners know that they can only get our products through LifeWave, and we're completely committed to the channel.
I think some of the best products are always the ones that have so much complexity. They're like, wow, it's amazing. But then you find a way to simplify it, right? So oh yeah, I get it. You have your X39 patch, and we're talking a lot about innovation, and I'd love to learn more.
Well, in terms of complexity, it's interesting you say that, because the patch on that level, as far as a technology, is a nanoscale organic array that's designed to be an optical filter using stereoisomers. They create a phenomenon known as circular polarization of light, and this allows the device to open up a communication channel between the device, the skin, and ultimately the receptors in the body. So it's technically complicated, but it's been simplified in such a way that anybody could use it, and takes 10 seconds to apply, and you get the benefits all day. But in simplistic terms, the LifeWave patch technology takes advantage of the fact that ultimately human beings are powered by light, which means if you can take any human, plant, animal cell, put it in a room that's completely dark. We use a device called a photomultiplier tube, and you can detect very minute photons. They're called biophotons because they're coming from living systems, coming off of those cells. And these pulses of light are so coherent, they resemble laser light. And the reason why all living systems have this light is that they initiate thousands of different biochemical reactions within the cell. So ultimately, as Robert Becker said in the late 60s, it's the electrical systems of the body that control the biochemistry, but here now more refined today, we would really say it's the light that's emitted from the cells that controls the biochemistry. So the LifeWave patch is a form of phototherapy. We stimulate the skin with very low levels of light. This activates receptors in the cell. And on our first product, which is Energy Enhancer, it's going to upregulate what's called beta oxidation or fat burning. So you wear the energy patches, and we can analytically demonstrate through blood, urine, saliva testing, bioelectrical testing, that that's exactly what happens. A 23% increase in fat burning from applying Energy Enhancer. With X39, which is designed as a longevity product, we are activating receptors with light that turn on the peptide GHKCU, and that, of course, has phenomenal longevity benefits.
You started doing research and then launched the marketplace how long ago?
I started the research on X39 in 2008.
Wow.
And this was long before doctors ever started using it. It had been discovered by Dr. Lauren Picard around 1970 or so. And Dr. Picard should win a Nobel Prize for this work because it's probably the most powerful peptide in the human body, which declines with age. That's responsible for resetting several thousand genes back to a more youthful state. We compare that to something like resveratrol, which resets two genes, the sirtuin genes, back to a more youthful state. Exercise, I know you like to exercise, so resistance training, that's going to reset about 78 genes back to a more youthful state. So when we consider we can apply light to the body in the form of a patch, and it doesn't really take any time, and it's going to reset thousands of genes, that's something well worth looking at.
I mean, that right there, combined with it takes 10 seconds and it works.
Right.
Those last two sentences
Right.
alone. But that goes with practicing what you preach, you're telling me how you want to have products that are working 10, 20 years from now. You got to be ahead of the curve. And that just shows that you actually were. It's not just like saying like, I hope, I want to,
Right.
It shows that proof of concept. So here's one of the challenges that I see that you guys have navigated. So I want to hear how. I love these interviews because I'm genuinely always curious. I've seen both sides do things wrong, meaning I've seen where they're stuck just on one product and there's never any innovation. And then I've seen other companies where it's like they have something that works well, but they cause confusion because they don't have the hero product, or you don't even have to say product. It could be story and direction where multiple products can fit in that story, but they cause confusion. It's like learning, I relate it to corporate in the field where it's like they learn how to play basketball and they're like, basketball's great, guys, but guess what? We're going to go play baseball now. But it's amazing, this new thing. And then all of a sudden it's like, now we're going to play football. So how have you guys been able to do that with so much innovation, but keep that synergy and cohesiveness?
First of all, the key to, I believe, the innovation success at LifeWave is it is never based on the Me Too concept. At LifeWave, it isn't about that. It's about David, divinely inspired, most of us believe, to see a need in society, to see something that needs to be done to improve the human condition from just observation and being curious and being interested and being passionate about people. And so once that's identified, the thought process that goes in is years down the road. And so again, we're not running around just trying to figure out how to grab the market share of this new thing. It's like, what is core to the human experience? What is a problem that needs to be solved? And I think that that's the type of innovation we do. I think that that's very, very helpful. And then the longevity of it is that by the time other companies see it and see, they've captured all this market share, we're going to rush about and try to Me Too ourselves right onto that. We're already well onto the next invention, years into the next invention. And so I think that creates this ability for us to scale in a way that other companies can't compete with.
How do you guys decide when to move on to a new product category? Because there's innovation for the same category, but I know some, I don't know what's allowed to be shared, what's not, with what's in the works, but you guys have developed new categories as well as looking in new categories, right? Because I see some huge strengths and challenges, and it's like sometimes you're in momentum and it's like, let's not touch it. And other times like, no, let's be forward thinking. I think back to Tiger Woods when he just won the Masters, and then he goes back and changes his golf swing and everyone thinks he's crazy. And then he goes on to win more and more and more. So I've seen it go both ways, and you guys have obviously made that work, but what goes into that? Like, I know it's innovation, I know it's forward thinking, but I'd love to hear.
Well, it starts with benefits. And so when I'm working with our research team and thinking about what type of products do we want to develop, selfishly, I think about what is it that I'd like for myself, what type of products would I use, and hopefully those are going to be things other people are interested in. Like, for example, I don't want to age. And I'd be willing to bet there's probably a lot of people that feel the same way. So the thinking was that X39 was such a massive success that on a technical level, we got about 1/3 of the way to stopping aging. That's what copper peptide does. So it's not a complete solution for stopping aging, but it's certainly an indication that it might be possible. So then the question is, could we develop a technology that would allow people to stop and even reverse aging? That's the goal that we set in our research. And if you do a scientific analysis of it, you'd say that mainstream, especially 10 years ago, mainstream said, well, it's not possible. Lifespan is limited to about 115 years old. Although today, there are groups of scientists that say, well, there's really no limit to how long people can live. There's some rationale that says, well, maybe human beings could make it to 1,000 years old. So how do we create that technology? So the answer always comes back to God and nature. So we see examples in nature of species that never age. They've been able to defeat the normal process of aging. So we began to do studies of some of these species in our lab to try to understand whether or not we could discover how they're doing it and then apply that into something that'll work on human beings. But that's how we develop the products with that kind of thinking, is going down a path that few people go down or don't think is possible, and then end up developing technology, patenting it. And by the time we get that technology to market, we're already several years into the next thing.
Are you testing it with leaders, with corporate executives, like clinical studies, all of it, some of it?
So we've already completed 6 clinical studies on human beings.
Wow.
And those studies have involved blood testing, urine testing. The urine testing has been extraordinary in terms of what we find, what's going on in the body. We use something called a physio suite. So we look at heart rate variability. We look at EEG. We use a BioWell, biopulsar, bright field, dark field microscopy, a whole suite of different analytical devices so we can really understand what effect this is having on people. And then after that, then we say, okay, we'll finally let leaders try it, which they have recently. And the exciting thing about this technology is that it is the next generation of light therapy. So LifeWave has been about stimulating the skin with light, but now this new technology embeds light into water. So you drink this water, it releases the light into the body, and it goes to work about 15 seconds after consuming it.
And that's the X2O water technology.
That's the X2O water system.
How is that launched to the leaders? Like, do the leaders get to know first? Is it like a council? Is it the top leaders? How early is that? Because obviously we know the importance of the law of the buy-in, right? But then we know sometimes things are told too soon, and it's like they're out promoting, there's confusion, but there also needs to be excitement. So how does that process work?
So, well, in the beginning, you actually touched on something, Rob, that I think is critically important to consider, which is how do we introduce forward-thinking innovation without creating a brand identity crisis?
Yeah.
Because we know that confused minds say no, and the company, the movement, the journey that brand partners fall in love with, if all of a sudden it seems to be heading off in a different direction, we've seen how that can end very badly for people. So from the very beginning, when David, on our monthly and then sometimes weekly calls where he shares glimpses into his vision of what's 5 years, 10 years down the road, we begin thinking about it, because obviously this is a gift that we are going to be delivering to tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people. How are we going to position this product to tie into the light, to tie it into that age reversal? How does this work? And then what we do is we usually put together a focus group, and David's very active in participating with those focus groups, usually the most influential leaders, so that they feel from the very beginning, because you know, and I know, we all know that buy-in is king, and we need that, to access the power of the network. And then offer an opportunity for people to earn the actual technology. So in this case, this is a $6,000 retail priced product. This is not an inexpensive product.
Yes.
So by offering them a promotion that, say, in our case, 30 people in the Americas earned, I think 15 people in Europe and another 20 or so in Asia Pacific, they have an opportunity to become part of the beta. And so that's really where we are right now. As a matter of fact, David just hosted a call this last week where we had like 15 people on there giving their testimonials. And the only negative of the testimonials was how they were dealing with the foot traffic of all of the people that were constantly ringing their doorbell, trying to beat in a way to come in and try the water.
If you can imagine, with our patches, we got to the level that we're at today by delivering light outside the body in a small area. Imagine what's going to happen if we're delivering light inside the body throughout the entire body. And you can start feeling those benefits in 15 seconds. That's pretty world-changing. And it makes a difference in people's lives, and it happens very, very quickly. So I think what would be different about the X2O launch as compared to maybe a traditional product launch is the fact that we're launching a new technology, not just a new product.
But I love how you keep talking about the light, because even though it can be a new product, one's inside, one's outside, it still feels like the same story that's just being enhanced. So it doesn't feel like changing direction. It's like, no, we're going to keep improving this story, which is phenomenal. And sometimes we understand it, but trying to explain it where the masses understand it isn't always easy. So,
it's light therapy, right? So the brand, fortunately, the brand partners, they got it right away. We've been in the light therapy business, and now this is an innovation in light therapy that hasn't existed, and we're delivering light throughout the body. They got that right away. They saw the synergy. They know that in order for people to get the most benefits out of the X39 patch or any of the patches, you have to be well hydrated. We came out with this product, Cellergize, to complement the patches, which goes in the water. And now the water is a delivery system for those nutrients. So everything fits together. It was made to be that way.
I want to talk about the opportunity now, because going from, 2002 of this idea, 2004, let's launch this, to 2004, right? You go, yes, you have challenges, but it goes like really, really well, gets to 18 million. 2006, we've got the challenges. 2016, some more challenges, but that becomes a strength. And then all of a sudden, I'm looking here, 2018 to 2024, 30 times growth, win the Bravo Award for most year-over-year growth for the top 100 companies. What happened? I know that could be hours and hours, but what? That's not normal. And obviously there's a foundation built, but what happened?
I had spent 10 years and invested $4.3 million into stem cell research. And this is, again, part of this forward thinking. And so when X39 was born, I began to think about and speak with our marketing team that we're not releasing another patch product. This is the third phase of release in our company. So I knew we needed to separate this for the opportunity from everything else we had done before to create a very specific dividing line. So the way that I positioned it with the marketing team was, think of Energy Enhancer, IceWave, Silent Nights, those products as being lifestyle products. That's what we started with. And then the second phase of the company was all about anti-aging. So now we're entering the third phase of the company, and this is all about stem cells and regeneration. And the timing happened to be just perfect. The closest comparison that we had was a stem cell injection. So if you wanted one stem cell injection, that was going to be between, let's say, $3,500 and $5,000 for a single injection, and about a third of the time it wouldn't work, and there was also risks associated with it. And our product, in contrast, for a brand partner was $100. And it's a product they could use every day, had no side effects, worked with the human body, and had benefits that, in fact, exceeded what you could see with stem cell injections. So from the perspective of the opportunity, the leaders started to see there was this enormous value proposition. So absolutely, that was a contributing factor. But one thing that we did, I think, really, really well, which could be a good, marketing lesson, is we didn't make it available for sale in the initial 6 months. What we did was we said, okay, first we're going to give samples to our leaders to use gratis. And then when we went to market in July of 2018, we said, if you want this product, you have to go out and sponsor, build the business, get a customer, and then we'll give you a free sample. And we started getting in a crazy number of testimonials. We built excitement. We were never selling the product, and sales were going up. So once we started selling the product and hit the ground running with it in January of 2019, we just escalated from there. We went from 20 million to 60 million in 1 year.
But what a unique, like you said, marketing research that you did rather than quick fix promo or like, let's launch this and all these different things. It's like, no. I know the product works. You were doubling down on it. And in the sense you didn't know if you're going to make money, you probably thought we may lose money over the course of time, but in the long term we'll make money, even though that wasn't the case.
Right.
And I know with that, with all the success that you guys have had, most people would not touch anything with their comp plan. And going back to you guys talking about being innovative, right? As you guys have had made those changes and you don't take them lightly, but again, you're thinking 5, 10, 15 years from now. So, and you're going through another one, correct? So maybe talk a little bit on that.
I think decision-making process at any company needs to be done responsibly and carefully and respectfully, because the reality is we hold in our hands the dreams and the hopes and aspirations of tens, hundreds, maybe millions of people. And so it weighs heavy, I think, in any change management process. You cannot be abrupt. You cannot be disrespectful. But you have to do what's right, and you have to do what's right for the business. We have the luxury and the benefit of being able to change at a time when people are looking for a reason to stay with LifeWave, to grow LifeWave, and not to leave LifeWave. So actually the timing is good. We are going to be paying over 60% more people with the new plan. And who are those people? People in their first 90 days. And so because of all of the work and the investment and us understanding what it takes to get a new person to join a company, to enroll, that can be weeks, months, years, the fact that we are going to respect them by building a pathway for them to earn quickly, that's the magic.
The approach that Meredith and I take with the leaders and the brand partners has an element to it. I don't know if other companies look at it this way or not, but I think one of the things that we've done is when we speak with our leaders and brand partners, we come from a place of appreciation and thinking about how can we thank our leaders for all of the success that they brought the company. And this is an important perspective because it shows up in some real world benefits for them and for the company. So for example, last year we had our 20th anniversary, and these events take a year to plan out. So as we were thinking about what did we want this conference to look like, we very much started with this idea that it was going to be a celebration. We wanted to celebrate 20 years. So we're very fortunate, in thinking through the planning. We got the original Blues Brothers, Dan Aykroyd and Jim Belushi, to come on board. And then another opportunity presented itself with Gwen Stefani and Maroon 5. And Meredith is like, what about the budget for this? And, fortunately, as the owner, I was able to say, this isn't about the budget. I'll take care of it. This is about letting the brand partners know how much we appreciate that we made it to 20 years and that we're on top now. And we have to find a way to meaningfully say thank you. And fortunately, this kind of sentiment has now perpetuated into, maybe there's some other ways we can say thank you. Like, what if we create a generational company? What if we start creating technology that is as valid 5 years from now as it is 20 years from now? So when you eventually come through our Welcome Center, one of the things you'll see there is something that Meredith and I are very excited about, which is a completely new technology for generating clean electrical power. So that's going to be another innovation that we'll bring to market, another opportunity that our brand partners and leaders will get to enjoy. And someday, when those leaders want to retire, they'll be able to pass on their business to their kids. And to me, that's like the biggest way we could ever say thank you for blessing this business. Thank you for your time and work. We're so happy we get to do something that's going to be meaningful in your life.
If we're trying to dig a little bit deeper of what you feel like is different about your culture, and maybe how do you feel like that's fostered from your perspective? And it's 2.5 years now you've been with LifeWave. So I'd love to hear that.
I think that the key to culture isn't necessarily what it is, but is it true and authentic? And do you live it? Because certainly we've seen a lot of companies. I remember when servant leadership was all the rage and everybody was talking about it. And of course, it's amazing, Greenleaf. And I mean, it's an incredible movement. However, a lot of people would speak it and not live it. So I think once you kind of lock in as a company about what is our differentiator in the area of culture, and then be true. And I think that one of the pieces of our culture that I see that I think has really helped us to establish who we are is that performance-driven piece of it, that results-driven piece of it, in that you come to your job and you are respected and you are valued every day. You are appreciated and you are challenged. You are challenged to think outside the box. You are challenged to innovate in the most unique areas, and there should be no entitlement.
How do you build that trust and transparency, especially with being, $600+ million company, continuing with your employees as well as with the field leaders?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly something that happens over time, and it happens through repetition. First, I think you would appreciate hearing this, is that back in 2005, I worked with Coach Richard Quick, 6-time U.S. Olympic coach at Stanford. And I asked him once, what was the difference between the athlete that won the gold medal and the athlete that didn't? And I was expecting him to say, well, the person that wins the gold medal has a special gift and they're just built right and different genetics. And what he said was, the person that wins the gold medal is the one that does the basics every day. They've committed to their diet, to their exercise. They're in the pool 5 hours a day. They're training, practicing. They're doing the basics over and over again every day. Those are the people that are winning the gold medals. And so I think the same is true in business. If we're going to be successful, there are a few very fundamental, basic things that you have to do each day. But the other side to it is you build trust over time, and you do it through your actions and your words. So if you say something, you have to deliver on it. And if there's a change in circumstances, you have to be transparent and you have to tell people. It's, I think I've come to realize that the relationship that the company has with its brand partners is very much like a marriage. And a marriage that's successful is based off of goodwill. And it means that both people are in this holy union and they want to do right by one another. They have one another's best interests. We may not always agree. We may have different ideas, and that's always totally okay. But each person wants the best for their partner. And so in networking, if the company wants what's best for the brand partners and the brand partners are going to protect the company, that is going to be something very special and it's going to have a lot of longevity. So I think one of the things that Meredith and I have done really well is that when we talk about making LifeWave a generational company, they're not words. We show them exactly how it is that we're going to do that, how we're going to accomplish it. We give them a plan. We give them a timeline. We show them technology. So they say, oh, okay, this is real. And we know because the company has delivered on its word over the past 20 years, we can know that this is the direction that they're going in, so we'll commit our time. So, as an owner in the business, I want to be respectful that we're not wasting people's time, that we're working together to build.
Segueing into some of the stuff that was earlier mentioned by you with AI and Meredith alluding to some of this stuff for later, and you talking about like the importance of leveraging AI, what it will replace, what it won't replace. I mean, that's a hot topic right now. I'd love to be curious, because you're so big on innovation, on what you're already implementing and what you're looking at implementing with AI. And I know it could change next week because it's changing so fast.
Yeah. So when we've had meetings with the staff, my mandate to the staff has been, number one, don't hire anyone unless they can tell you how they're going to implement AI into their job and how they're going to leverage that. And we want to see plans based around integrating AI into the organization. Now, that said, we also have a mandate where we will refuse to let people go because of AI. So let's say, for example, we want to integrate AI into customer service. We will not have layoffs. I do not want LifeWave to turn into a company where people are displaced by technology. I think that is an incredibly dangerous, toxic precedent to set. It's demoralizing to people that are on the team that stay, because they'll wonder, well, when am I going to lose my job? So I would rather look at this as AI is a tool. Let's use it to improve efficiency. In our research, we use AI to do some basic information gathering to be as efficient as possible, but we're not going to use that as a means to replace people. And we'll use that to go to 24/7 customer service. With robotics, we're taking a similar approach. I want to have 24/7 order fulfillment, and we'll do that through robotics. But we're not going to replace human beings. And so I think it's really important for everyone. We have over 600 employees now. I think it's really important for people to know that's the direction that we're heading in. We have to use these technologies to keep up and have an advantage. But we don't want to do it at the expense of the human factor. Otherwise, we lose too much.
It's a really good take, and that's really empowering with the communication. We're not looking to replace you. We're looking to enhance your role, and AI is part of that enhancement. I've looked at even my business, at first I'm like, oh, is this going to take away from a lot of things I do? It's made me 10x better. I feel like I got a battle buddy. I got an assistant, I've got like so much. So for me, like that's a constant thing. So I love that response. And I love the interview process as well, is asking like how they would actually use and implement it, because it is so important, and that's thinking ahead.
Yeah, and in our industry, you can think about, okay, not every company, actually most companies are going to take the stance. IBM as an example, my roommate from college, who I'm still friends with, after 40 years of service to IBM, they laid him off, and he and 6,000 other people were laid off because of AI. So that's something that I saw in my personal life. And because other companies are going to take that route, people are going to need to be looking for work. And my opinion is that the direct selling industry is about to go through the biggest growth that it ever has been because of this phenomena. AI will start, companies will start using AI as a means to reduce costs. There'll be people that will be out of work, unemployment will go up, and those people will need to supplement their income, and our industry will be one place where they can turn. So if we're adopting these technologies and using AI to make it easier for brand partners to operate a business and earn money, we're going to be so far ahead of everybody else.
I love that vision. And going on with that vision for direct selling and the gig economy and how we evolve, Meredith, I'd love to hear just in general, first from direct selling, like, how do you see it evolving, then how it's evolved and how you see it evolving the next 5 to 10 years, and fit LifeWave into that as well, how you guys are implementing that?
So how do we incorporate things like weekly pay and maybe even at some point daily pay for some? So how do we make it quick in their pocket? I think that that's really what we're all about here. So our compensation design team was looking at how do we reward, yes, immediately, quickly, and simply, but how then do we also balance that for the people that do look for that generational company?
Yeah, and when you really break it down, if someone were to list out like their perfect dream job, it really is direct sales. When they say, well, sure, I want to have a great boss, I want to have a great culture, I want to have some time freedom, flexibility, right? Done wrong, I get it, can be your biggest nightmare if you feel like you don't have the right products and culture and all that, but done right, it's your greatest dream. So finishing with this question, what do you want the legacy to be for LifeWave? Like, you think 10, 20 years, and I know you think much beyond that. You think passing it on and what people are talking about 20, 30 years from now about LifeWave and what it's done, and for human beings, what it's done for direct sales, right? Being one of those built to last companies. Like, what is that? Because you've talked a lot about legacy, which I love. What is that vision?
I kind of like superheroes. And so I think that shapes a lot about the way I think about things. So, the traditional superhero is get the bad guy, rescue the girl, save the world, right? So I think simple stuff, right? So I think if we were looking, 20, 30, 40 years into the future, we're at an important moment, and we have some extraordinary opportunities. We're dealing with technologies that have the potential to stop and reverse human aging. So thinking about that beyond the individual, what that means is that if we turn that into a reality, and the technology ends up doing that, that means we have functionally, because we're keeping people healthier, we reduce healthcare costs on any one given country. And then that money that countries are saving can be turned around for humanitarian purposes. Let's take people that are homeless, to feed people, give them home. If we think about this on a very, very large level. So the technology has some very, very far-reaching consequences. It also means that when people are getting into their 60s, 70s, 80s, now, maybe they're functioning like someone in their 30s and 40s, and they're productive. They're no longer a burden on society. And that's also an enormous benefit. So that technology has the ability to change society in a very, very dramatic way. The power generation technology that we're talking about, the ability to generate energy in a completely different way that's clean, healthy for the planet, to make people energy independent. The unit generates 20 kilowatts of power, which means not only do you get rid of your electric bill, but you make money every month off the grid. So 10, 20, 30 years from now, what that means is we've played a role in making the planet a cleaner place. We gave people a business that is recession-proof because we need power every single day. And maybe we've helped to reduce using fossil fuels and contributing to CO2 in the environment. And that's had a meaningful impact on our environment, and we've created a sustainable future. So I'm much more interested in leaving a legacy about making the world a better place than the one that I came into. That's what I would like.
I always say good leaders have vision, great leaders give vision. And that's an incredible vision. And when you look at this profession, a lot get in for the money or for the products. But then they see with that, which are very important, an even bigger vision, which you just cast of some of those end results of what it can do, not just for you, but for the world, for humanity, it's very, very moving. That helps create that culture, that helps create that community, that helps create that loyalty where it becomes just so much bigger. So I appreciate you for sharing that, David. I appreciate you, Meredith. I appreciate both of you for taking the time and being willing to share some of your vulnerabilities, right? Things you've gone through, as well as many of your successes, because I really do know that there's so many little things that will give ideas to so many companies in this profession so that we can grow, because it is true that collaboration is the new competition. So thank you so much to both of you. We all appreciate it tremendously.